Assalamu alaikum all. Today I'm going to be talking about how I managed to sort of follow through on my halal money goals. Now, the problem I had was that, I had these goals like investing a certain amount, saving a certain amount, setting up my budget. And, I just had the problem of just actually sitting down, spending time, sorting out my finances and actually kind of following through on them. And it's such an important thing. And I'm going to talk about how I overcome that in today's video. Now, I just want to say welcome to Simple Muslim Money, which is all about simple halal investing and personal finance for Muslims. Now, this is just a quick disclaimer. This is not financial advice and it's just my opinion for entertainment and information purposes. Okay, now I would say probably the most important thing was that I was not setting up and automating my halal finance system. Now, I was not setting things up. Maybe I would start to set up my pension or start to set up my ISA, but then not kind of following through and actually finishing it. So, I'd do the application form, go online, fill in the little bits and pieces, and then they kind of get back to me or they need my ID and stuff like that. And I had like a problem with just finishing those things out or sorting out my budget or my pension, combining all my pensions and things like that. Then I was kind of thinking about why was this not happening? And it's just that things take a bit of processing time. There's a bit of back and forth required. I have to send my ID. I might have to fill out some forms. And like, for example, in the case of the ISA, I have to, apply, open up the ISA, I have to put a regular deposit in, you have to click a few buttons, you have to get your bank details, make sure you've got enough going in and all that stuff. And then once you've done that, I then have to set up a regular investment. So it's all these like little bits that just kind of build up. And, these things do take time and, I need to send my ID, you have to wait a bit, you have to remember that when they get back to you, you have to then get back to them. Things like pensions, for example, combining them and stuff take quite a few weeks. And, the companies need to talk to each other, exchange information. I need to fill out a paper form, sign it, send it off. So, in my head, I just had this assumption that, this should not take long to set up. It should just be a few minutes. And I needed to kind of get those assumptions out of my head. And, some of the apps and things that you have to use, they're not always that clear. So, some of these companies haven't spent that much time improving them. They've created them ages ago. They're kind of fixing them, but they're probably not whiz-bangy like how modern sort of apps are now. And, they need to kind of really invest and improve the app, to be honest with you. And it can be a bit confusing. So also like not to be too hard on myself. It's just, things do take a bit of time and I need to kind of get out of that mindset that, hey, no, this should take 1 or 2 minutes. Why is it taking longer? And then getting frustrated and then not kind of finishing things off. And what does happen is that I just ended up forgetting about things. So, time would go by potentially months and years and, other things come up in life. And then the problem with that is that I'm missing out on a lot of money because I haven't got this system and everything set up. It's something that I'm going to forget about. And if I don't have these systems, then, I can't optimize how I'm using my money. And there's also another case of just getting distracted by the next shiny thing. So, this has been happening before. I was meant to get all my pensions together and then I started and I stopped and got distracted by some other thing. And, I just never got around to finishing it. So it's really important just to be able to do that. And the other thing is that the reason why, I need to make sure that I finish what I started is that if I give an example of an ISA, there's no point in having an ISA if I've set it up, but then I haven't deposited money into it regularly and then I'm not investing regularly with that ISA. It's almost like pointless. And, I need to make sure that all of these things are set up properly so they're working and my money's kind of being utilized as well in the right way. Otherwise, before you know it, years can just go by and I'm missing out on money. So I'm going to actually talk about what helped me to actually make sure I finished what I started. And, these are the tips that kind of really helped me. And the first one sounds really obvious, but just write a list of things down. Don't have to be a crazy list. Could be 3, 4, 5 things, whack it into a Google sheet, which is what I love doing now, actually, just using Google Sheets rather than overcomplicating things. Definitely keeping things simple helps. And in terms of keeping things simple, focusing on one thing at a time is super important. So like if I want to get my budget sorted out, just focus on my budget. Don't start bringing my pension, this, that, and everything else in. If I want to set up an ISA, just focus on the ISA, set up the ISA, have money regularly going into the ISA, have my investments sorting out. And, these are the things that I need to do. Focus on one thing, not getting distracted by lots of other different things. And and another thing, just do a little bit each day. I don't have to spend 3, 4, 5 hours trying to figure out everything. Some of these things is like you do a little bit, then you have to wait for someone to get back to you, then you have to do a little bit more. So just try and do things, maybe if you've got a break at work, you could just apply for things or do stuff, or one day you fill out the form, the next day you send the form. So there's all these kind of things. So, but the real key message is not to forget about, completing things. It's very easy for life to get in the way, months and years to go by, and just miss out on a lot of money, and also not being able to keep a track of things. So yeah, I just want to say this is something that's really helped me, and just want to say thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please smash that like button, as it really helps share this video and promote it out there. Assalamu alaikum.